Hey, folks, it's Mark Murphy, and this is traveltube.com. And if you're seeing this video and you're not listening to it on a podcast, you'll see that I'm back in my Florida studio, which makes life a lot easier. But it also means I'm a little bit behind getting this out, but so be it. As a reminder, do me a favor if you haven't already, please sign up at traveltube.com. We'll send you our weekly e newsletters. And secondly, follow us on social media. Look at the logo, that's who we are. There's some other imposters out there, but the real traveltube.com, that is the only one named traveltube.com, is on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, as well as on your favorite podcast app, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcast is where we live. So what's great about this is you can get insights from travel experts, not me, but the folks that are the travel agents and travel advisors around the country who sell the world. And they bring back those experiences. Plus, on the site itself, we also go out and aggregate and compile what we consider really good videos from not just travel advisors, but travel suppliers and destinations, as well as influencers. Because, I know sometimes influencer has a bad rap. They're just in it for the free trips. But some of them out there shoot some really great content, and we like to feature it because it's very informative, and you can never get enough great content about great travel destinations and products like new resorts or places that you haven't discovered yet. And the idea behind Travel Tube is to aggregate all of that content in a single place to share with other advisors and then ultimately to consumers. And that's the mission behind traveltube.com. Now, with that said, we also like to bring you some of the news and some of the insights. And I'm doing that again this week with the shutdown, the government shutdown. Yes, folks, it is having an impact, but it's not having an impact everywhere. Let me give you an example. I had a wedding this weekend. I actually officiated the wedding. So I don't know if it's going to be legit or not, but yes, I did officiate the wedding. And in officiating the wedding, what I found was that people flew in, some from overseas, some drove in from local states in the area in North Carolina, and others flew in. Of all the people that flew in and out, not a single person out of 65 people that were there that had come to this wedding had an issue. So there's no reason to stress about the government shutdown and whether your air travel is going to get screwed up. But here are a couple of tips. Number one, bring your patience, because just like we saw at Houston, it was a mess. Number two is, if you haven't booked a flight yet, or if you have the ability to change your flight without a penalty, change it to the first flight in the morning. You're much less likely to run into crowds, much less likely to have a rush at security, and therefore much less stress, and you'll get on your way. Because the issue is more along the lines of the TSA folks walking out and security lines, like we saw in Houston over the weekend, versus the ground stops, which we've also heard about, but they tend to get lifted and the planes continue moving. So that just means a delay. What does that mean if you're going on a cruise? Well, if you're going on a cruise, that cruise ship leaves, and it leaves at its designated time. It doesn't care whether or not you're on board or not on board. If you don't make the ship, you're not going. So what you should consider then in that example is booking your flight and traveling a day ahead of time. Don't travel the day of the cruise. That's like Russian roulette. Give yourself that extra day. And if everything goes off great, fantastic. You get there, enjoy the point of embarkation, whatever's going on. Let's say, for instance, down the street here in Fort Lauderdale, got a lot of great stuff. You could hop over to Las Olas. You could stay at a nice property at the beach. It's a great place to spend a few extra days no matter what. But you got to consider that, and you should definitely take advantage of it. It's going to cost you a couple $100 extra for the hotel room for that night, but the peace of mind that'll bring is priceless. That's as far as the government shutdown goes. Probably as soon as this goes up, or very soon thereafter, it's going to come to a stop anyway, because you can't keep the government shut forever. And the only question is, will 5 or 6 Democrats vote affirmative to make it happen since every Republican, I believe except one, has voted for it. That's it. And there's already been a few Democrats that have come across to go ahead and keep it open. So with that said, probably going to end sooner versus later. If it does continue on, it's going to create more disruptions, more headaches, but don't let that stop you from traveling, because we all know that the worst part of traveling is getting to the airport, going through security, flying to your destination, because that's when your vacation actually begins, because flying is not a great experience these days. We all know it. It is what it is. If you want flights that would have cost the equivalent of $1,600 in today's dollars for a simple short haul flight, then you can reminisce about the old days. But in reality, flying is way cheaper today than it was 15 or 20 years ago. And with that, you get some of the headaches and some of the whack jobs too. I'm going to talk about some of those folks later on in today's podcast. Speaking of arriving late to a cruise ship, have you ever had somebody tell you a really bad travel story? I've got a good one for you. Here's a great example of why you should use a travel agent. This family booked a Disney cruise. It was going to be the trip of a lifetime. It was going to be amazing. They were going on a Disney cruise. They were going out of Port Canaveral. They booked everything themselves. They booked directly with Disney, whatever. You're talking to Disney, God bless you. Here's where things went awry. My phone, unbeknownst to me, rang at 3 a.m. and I got a tearful message from the wife who had booked everything. She thought she had nailed it. It was a trip over the Easter break for this family from New Jersey. They were taking the grandparents, themselves, their kid, and a couple other family members. So it was a big group going on this cruise, and they spent a lot of money for this experience. The only thing that they didn't do well was book their flights. So it was the day before they were to leave. The call came in because the woman who had booked the airline tickets had just realized that her plane arrived at 5 p.m. the day the cruise line was departing at 5 p.m. into Orlando, but the ship was going out of Port Canaveral. That's impossible, folks, unless you can teleport yourself from somewhere on approach, along with your luggage, directly to the ship. Yeah, that doesn't happen unless you're living in a simulation, which some people think we are. Well, it wasn't a simulation. It was a tearful message. I got it hours and hours later because I was on Vietnam time. I was literally on the other side of the world, and she was hoping I could help her. Well, I couldn't help her. And when she went to change the flight to try to get out that day or an earlier flight, she got hit with all the cancellation fees. Oh, and by the way, the change in fare, because they booked it months earlier. Now it's the day before. Pretty much half the country's going on spring break from the high schools and the grade schools. Yeah, it was going to cost them thousands and thousands of dollars more to change those tickets. So that was a bit of a lesson for them. And it kind of sucked that they did it the way they did it. But needless to say, this wasn't the cause, but that couple got divorced a few years later. Had nothing to do with the trip. But yeah, didn't work out. So the guy who I'm friends with, he actually calls me when he wants advice when it comes to travel, and he does it in advance. And so I give him that advice, and he actually gets where he's supposed to go on time. So it does work out. And that's why planning is really important. But I don't care how good you are at this, you're going to run into issues. Planning on a vacation is really important. And even so-called experts get it wrong sometimes because, at least in this case, alcohol was involved. Yes, folks, alcohol. I like to have a drink or two, especially when I'm finished working all day. And this was no different because I was on a trip to film on a cruise ship. and we had made a stop in Santorini. But since we were in Santorini, me and my camera guy decided we were going to go and create a little, a little clip, if you would, 3 to 4 minutes of our experience in that part of Santorini, because it was the touristy thing where you take the tram up to the top, and then we walked around. I did a little on-camera conversation, some talking about the experience, etc. And then after we had wrapped, we said, "Hey, we got the shots. We got everything we needed. Everything was great. Let's grab a few drinks." So we sat down. We had a round. We had another round. And we were thinking of ordering a third round, but we looked at our watch and we said, "You know what? We better get back. We got about 30 minutes, get to the tram, take a few minutes to get down." Yeah, this guy, the travel guy, yeah, totally blew it. Totally blew it. The way I blew it is really simple. I was thinking that the tram would be as convenient going down as it was coming up. However, here's a travel tip. If you're in Santorini and you don't plan on riding a donkey down or walking down, which can take between 20 and 40 to 45 minutes on a winding path all the way down to where the tender will get you and take you to the ship, yeah, you better be prepared, because here's what happened to me. We got to the tram. There was a line a mile long. I saw somebody from one of the cruise lines there. They told me flat out, "Yeah, there's no way you're going to make your tender." So we had to hustle. So now we're down to about 20 minutes, which is kind of the limit if you're cruising down that path. Also, the sun had set. So now it's dark. And after you do the first couple S turns on this path that winds all the way down, because you're going down like almost like a little cliff, and it winds around. And this is where the donkeys bring people up, and people pay to have the donkeys bring them up and take them down. Part of the experience that people like to do. Well, the donkeys were done for the day. They were actually on their way up to get put away for the night. And as we start down, the first thing you have to worry about is stepping in donkey dong. Okay. That's the first thing. As we're walking down, no flashlight. We're looking down, making sure we're not stepping in any loads. And we traversed pretty well, me and my camera guy, Nick. And then we started hitting the donkey jockeys coming up, and they were speaking in Greek. I didn't understand anything they were saying, but euros, euros, euros. And they wanted us to pay for a passage down the path because we were walking. It was basically the donkey shakedown. So I don't like shakedowns. I lived in New York for a while. I wasn't taking any crap. And I was telling them where they could stick the euros. And one of my suggestions was the ass end of the ass. So it wasn't my most diplomatic moment, but after the fourth or fifth guy, I was proactive. I'm like, "Yeah, there's your euros. You can stick them where the sun doesn't shine, blah, blah, blah." I don't know. I don't know if they understood what I was saying. I'm sure they did, but I had no conversations with these folks, coming and going or anything other than responding to the demands for their payment for passage. So yes, folks, you can make mistakes even if you think you know what you're doing. And we made a big mistake, and I was lucky. I avoided all the donkey crap and made it down. But my camera guy, Nick, wasn't so lucky. And yeah, he brought back a little present and had to ditch his shoes, which were really nice shoes. He likes to buy nice shoes. And these were sneakers, but they were like nice sneakers. And he wasn't too thrilled about that. But we got back, jumped on the last tender, probably with about 60 seconds to spare, made it back to the ship. So we weren't one of those people doing the pier chasing. That's always fun. The guys that go off the ship, don't pay attention to the time, and then they're racing on the pier. The ship's blowing the horn and it's pulling back. They're done. They can't go anywhere. Now they're stuck in whatever port they're in, and it's up to them to pay to fly back. Don't be that guy or girl, okay? You don't want to do that. Another thing that I think people aren't aware of when they travel, in this case abroad, is you got to know the local laws. So let's take Turks and Caicos. You may have seen some news earlier this year about Turks and Caicos, which is a stunning destination. And there's some unbelievable five-star resorts there that you could just enjoy. There's family resorts and everything in between. So it's a wonderful destination that a lot of people haven't been to, but I would definitely put it on your bucket list. With that said, if you're a hunter or just somebody who likes to go to the range and shoot, you had better make sure you have no ammo in your luggage, because what's happened is when they inspect your luggage, if they find 2 bullets that were left over because that was a bag you used to carry some stuff and you had a couple of extra bullets that just happened to be there. And as a guy who believes in the Second Amendment and who does shoot and does own guns, I would tell you that it's very easy for, one of your rounds to end up in a backpack or something. But it's really critical that you know the local laws. And in the case of Turks and Caicos, if you get caught with ammunition, it could be a 12-year sentence. I'm not talking about, bringing in 1,000 rounds. That would be really bad. You would definitely go to jail for a long time. I'm talking about the innocent tourist who's completely clueless. All of a sudden, they search the bag, they find 2 bullets. That person, best case scenario, the judge has some flexibility on the sentencing, especially for tourists. They don't want to turn tourists off, but they are very serious about this. And you'll end up paying thousands of dollars in fines. You'll need legal representation. You'll pay for that. You'll hopefully not spend time in jail, but you're probably going to spend a little time, and then you'll be out and on your way home. And it's a terrible way to end a vacation. So keep that in mind the next time you travel, in this case to Turks and Caicos, but it's the same with so many countries. And I'll just give you another example. Marijuana. It's legal in a lot of states these days. I mean, New Jersey, Colorado, I don't know where else. It's legal in New York, I believe now. California, obviously, Oregon. I'm pretty sure it's legal. Is it legal in Washington State? I don't know. But there's a bunch of states where it's legal. So people have had kind of a laissez-faire attitude about marijuana. It's not really something to be caught with if you're going to places like Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, China, and a whole bunch of other places. I'm not going to name every place, but there are places where if you are caught and you are suspected of with marijuana, and if you're caught with that and you're suspected of trafficking it, meaning you're bringing in enough that they consider trafficking, you could be put to death. Yeah, folks. And they don't waste any time. It's not like in the US where you can murder 10 people and 30 years later, after you've been sentenced to die in the electric chair or whatever, that you finally meet your maker. There, it's very quick and you're right out the door. Here we go. Sit down and stand up or whatever their method is, and you're done. That should not be you, because sometimes people think it's okay to bring edibles or bring a marijuana vape somewhere. There's zero tolerance in places for that. And there is jail time and worse. So if you even got caught with a little bit of weed going into a spot, some of the places, it might just be a minimum 4-year sentence. You can have a nice long break from your job and your family if that's the case. So whatever you do not bring weed with you when you travel, no matter what you think. I mean, like the UAE, United Arab Emirates, you get caught with a small amount of marijuana, you go to jail for 4 years. They do not mess around. So keep that in mind and just don't do it. Lay off your habit. If you need to supplement it, drink more alcohol. You're not going to feel great, but it is what it is, right? Or just go enjoy your vacation and then toke away when you come back. Just don't bring it. It's a bad, bad idea. So those are some tidbits about traveling internationally. They're not so much fun. It's, I can't bring my weed. I can't do this. I can't do that. Okay, relax, everybody. All good. Because I'm taking you into the cesspool known as Reddit. But Reddit, even though it's a cesspool, it has some pretty cool things on it. I mean, some things that's not safe for work or any consumption, but other things are pretty funny. Like one of the users recently posted that they were on a flight and they were sitting in a row with three seats together, and they had pre-ordered a meal. And if you've ever been on a flight where you get a pre-ordered meal, they typically serve those out first. They basically figure out, okay, this is seat, 14A, 15D, whatever it happens to be, right? And they bring you your food. Great. Well, this person said that the folks traveling in the row with them, and one person in particular was sitting right next to them, found it to be incredibly rude that the person who was served that meal ahead of everybody else had the audacity to actually start eating that meal before everyone else was plated. So if you're eating with folks, typically the food comes out. If you're at a restaurant, food comes out. And if somebody doesn't have their food right away, everybody's very polite about waiting till everyone is served. But it's typically because the waiter just has to go back because they don't have 12 arms to grab the extra plates and bring them out and boom, drop them in front of those people. And then 60 seconds after you got your plate, everyone else has their plate. But this guy, I don't know, it was a guy or a girl, said that it was incredibly rude that you started eating before everybody else in the row got served. And just if you're in a group, if it's like a function, if they're served on your left and your right, and you're served, you got your plate first, but now not everybody, the people on your left and right have their food, you could go ahead and start eating technically, even if the guy sitting across the table hasn't been served. That's like in a larger group because it takes a little bit longer. You don't wait for everybody to get it. And he thought to himself, is this next level entitlement? Me sitting here eating my food while it's hot because I got served before everybody because I ordered a special meal. And I thought that was hysterical. Yeah, it's the things that people will come up with, like, so you obviously feel entitled to eat your food here, Oh, so rude, so rude. Well, that guy that was complaining said that the person who ate the meal in front of them before they were served was very rude and it ruined their flight. Imagine being so petty that you would tell the guy sitting next to you who got his food that he's rude and you ruined his flight because you ate your food before they got their food off the cart that was going to come up the aisle, who knows how much later. Imagine that. What would you have said to this person? What would you have said? I know what I would have said. I would have looked at him and gone, if there's a guy, I'd be like, what, are we on a date? Are we on a date right now? FYI, we wouldn't be on a date because you're a dude and I don't play for that team. Okay, that's number one. Got it? What else would I? If it's a woman, I'd look at her and go, are you my mother? I'm sorry, what? What are you talking about? And then I would ask, well, next time I'm at a restaurant, do I need to wait for the table next to me to get their food served? Because I don't want them to feel bad and be upset that I'm eating when they're not. Or do you expect the flight attendant? You know how those little meals come and they got the foil on them. If they're heated on the plane, and they got the foil on, and you take that foil off. So are the flight attendants, going to grow? I don't know, how big is the plane? 180 arms? And let's say 20 people choose not to eat. 160 arms with hands, and they're like, voila, the unveiling, enjoy your meal, bon appetit. Yeah, that doesn't happen. And you got to laugh at that. You got to laugh that this is something that somebody on a flight thought was rude. Years and years and years ago, I used to give a crap what people thought. I don't anymore. I live my life in a way that's respectful to others, to myself, to my family, my friends. That's how I'm going to live my life. If you don't like it, I don't care. If somebody doesn't like me for some reason, that's because they don't like their self. They want to be critical. That's because they grew up being criticized. That's just a fact. And that's how I view it. That's what I believe. I think that's pretty much human nature, but I'm open to other thoughts. I think that's totally fine. Totally fine. Now, you know what's not fine? And here's a criticism that I will make. If you are a person that takes your shoes off on the plane and rubs your feet, in some cases, clip your toenails, if you just Google passenger shaming, I remember doing this years ago when I was on a flight. I don't even know where the hell I was going. I fly so much. But I took a picture because I watched the guy walking in shorts and bare feet. And he was standing right in front of me because I was in that exit row where the big exit door is. And I think it was on a 757. And then the bathroom, the wall that's about 5 feet away because there's a jump seat for the flight attendants there. The bathroom is behind it. So I'm watching this guy standing in front of me barefoot, waiting for the bathroom. And I'm thinking to myself, don't do it, dude. Please, for the love of God, don't go in there barefoot. Please don't. Oh my God, he's going in barefoot. He's going in barefoot. Talk about disgusting. Now, you can go and look at passenger shaming, and probably half the passenger shaming are people's feet. They're either up on the ceiling, they're sticking through, and they're on your armrest with somebody's toes looking at you, or they're walking around up and down without shoes on. Again, if you're traveling and you take your shoes off and you walk around on that stuff, God only knows what's on that ground, man, especially in the restroom of all things. What do you think they do? Come in and disinfect the bathroom every time? You guys never flown? Was this person raised by wolves? I mean, I remember working with a guy years and years ago. And I thought he was raised by wolves because he did the most bizarre stuff, like eating a shrimp with the shell, the legs, everything. We're talking like a shrimp like the size of my, like probably the size of my middle finger, extended, a little fatter than that, with a big tail, with a bunch of legs hanging off. I mean, we're talking like a monster shrimp. Kind of ironic, isn't it? A very large shrimp. And he ate the whole thing. And me and the guy that were sitting there were like, what's he doing? What's this like? Are we watching? What was that Daryl Hannah movie where she ate the lobster? That's what it was like. So I've seen some weird stuff, and I've worked with some people who do some weird stuff. If you get out and about, one of the best things about getting out and about is you will see some crazy, you know what, when you're traveling. So without a doubt, that is a pet peeve of mine. Keep your shoes on the flight, please. And whatever you do, if you take them off, don't stick them out where everyone can see them. Don't clip your toenails. Don't rub your feet. It's disgusting. All right. That's my criticism. Little etiquette in the air would be nice, but we'll see what happens. Now, when it comes to a topic I've talked about earlier, I find it funny, but if you go on Reddit or Facebook or any social media platform where they're talking about travel from Canada to the US, you continue to see Trump, call us the 51st state. We're boycotting the United States, this and that. And it's this rage, like, or people, I'm going to sell my house. How dare he say that? And I always ask myself, would you make a financial decision based on somebody who in 3 years and 2 months will no longer, well, 3 months, 3 years and 2.5 months, won't be the president of the United States? He's done. You might not like his policies. You should try to get a sense of humor, because when he was trolling your former prime minister, that genius, yeah, he was trolling him, and it triggered a bunch of you. And here's what I will tell you: like the 51st state thing, that was a troll. That was designed to get a rise over people who have a very low trigger threshold. And it was demonstrated that many in Canada have a very low trigger threshold. But at the same time, like I said before, the reasons for the I'm not traveling there, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You're going to Mexico. Got it. And I see that in some of the threads. And at least there's some people that are there that said, yeah, I'm skipping the United States. And, because all this crap about our prime minister, this and that, who was such a great prime minister. I mean, you guys should be really proud of how Trudeau has managed your economy and everything in the last, 10 plus years, because it's been a disaster. And between the taxes, the inflation, the COVID lockdowns, it's kind of funny. I always find it amusing that people tell me that we're under an authoritarian dictatorship, yet in our country and in your country, our previous administration locked people in their homes, didn't allow you to travel, forced you to be vaccinated if you wanted to work, get on public transportation in Canada, for instance, go to a restaurant in New York, you name it, right? Now, for at least New York, it was the state and the city doing that. But in Canada, you couldn't leave the country or return unless you were vaccinated. Yet you refer to the president of the United States today as this authoritarian dictator. And I always think to myself, did you not visit? Like, did you not see what happened? And then I realized that no, they saw it. Of course, you lived it. You lived it. But the people that are bitching about Trump today were the same people that were cheering on forced vaccinations, forced masking, shutting businesses down. Remember the trucker thing where they seized bank accounts? If you donated to them, you could have your bank account seized, and on and on and on, be debanked. Yeah, that all happened. But the difference is, because those people disagreed with you politically, it was okay. It was okay for you in Canada. You were fine with not being able to travel, not being able to leave your home, not being able to work a job. You're totally fine with the social media companies not being allowed to share links that might have information you'd like to read in Canada. I wonder if you're even able to access this video from Canada. And if I put it up on Facebook or other outlets, I don't know. But we certainly know that they limit what you can see. But you're okay with that. And that's your country, but Trump's a dictator and bad man, et cetera. Now, if you were talking about things like, Chicago, a lot of crime, it's kind of scary, et cetera. That I get. That I get. I would say, yeah, you know what? I don't want to go to a place that's getting shot up every night. No, of course not. Nobody does. But at the same time, have you forgotten what took place over the last 5 years in your own country? Oh, and by the way, there are a few brave souls. And of course, they still bash everything USA, USA, which is okay. I mean, everybody can have their opinion. It's all right. I don't mind. But the irony is, there are posts that say, well, we're going to Mexico because Mexico is 50% cheaper than the United States. What? Excuse me? What'd you say? Oh, yeah. So as you're getting slammed with taxes, inflation, your discretionary income's gotten killed. You've had stagnant wages for the last 10 years, despite costs going way up. All of those factors, you just lost the Stellantis deal up there with the automotive industry, which is going to hurt and cost you guys a lot of jobs, and on and on and on, because they're moving plants to the U.S. I can see why that would piss you off. I can see why that would be an issue, but do you understand that your own government is complicit in that result? It's very easy. If you tariff us 25%, we're going to tariff you 25%. It's reciprocal. That's the word, reciprocal. Now, as far as the traffic coming across the bridges into the US, where a lot of Canadians would come over to the US to buy goods, to bring them back, to avoid getting slammed with the VAT up there, because you pay that, I don't know what you guys call it, but you pay basically a value added sales tax on everything, in addition to getting your income tax through the wazoo. It's everything. But you got free healthcare. Yeah, sure, it's free. Anyway, that bridge traffic has dropped dramatically, not because of the tariffs by the US. It's dropped dramatically because of the retaliatory tariffs imposed by your own government, which makes it uneconomical to come across and buy the stuff because they're going to tariff the hell out of you, and you're going to be better off buying your stuff in Canada. So, yeah, elbows up, elbows up. That's what you guys are saying. Elbows up, right? Keep your elbows up, travel where you want to travel. I can tell you that as somebody who spends a lot of money traveling and also does different types of travel experiences, including van life, including RV travel, there are a lot of ways you can enjoy yourself and have a great vacation without breaking the bank. Here's just one example. There's a place called Cape Henlopen State Park. It's in Delaware, Lewes, Delaware, right near Rehoboth. Great little spot. It's a state park. I was there for a couple of nights. You know what I saw? I saw families with their kids on bikes. I saw they could ride their bike down to the beach. There's trails to hike, just beautiful open scenery, wonderful, wonderful park. I'm sorry to even be telling people about this because it's always hard to get in there. But imagine if you have a trailer that you could buy used for $14,000, $15,000, $20,000. You could tow it in, set it up. A family of four could stay there, and you could do it for $40 a night, all in. Now, yeah, you're making your own food, but again, you know what I did when I was a kid? Our big vacation would be hop in what we called the white wagon. It was a station wagon. Drive from Philadelphia to my birthplace, Chicago. Stay at the airport Marriott. It had an indoor-outdoor pool and an outdoor pool, 2 pools, and then run around and visit family. And we never really dined out. We basically had dinner with relatives, and we spent 2 weeks out there and came back. Dirt cheap. A lot of Americans have done that over the years. Not everyone's going and spending $1,000 a night at the Four Seasons. You know what I mean? It's just a reality check. And that's what people do. Now, I'm fortunate enough that I sold a company. And after I sold the company, I decided that we were going to buy a beach house. So we bought a beach house. So I look at that and I go, I've traveled around the world. I love chilling out. I love being with my dog and family members. And because we raised our kids in that area, and because I still have family in that area near Long Beach Island, New Jersey, we thought, man, family and friends could come and hang out with us and we would have those experiences. So the joke is, in my family, they come here in the winter because it's Fort Lauderdale, fantastic vacation destination. And they come to the beach in the summer in Long Beach Island because, again, fantastic vacation destination. And I joke that I call it freeairbnb.com. Not that I own the URL, somebody does. But the only thing I say is, hey, did you book it on freeairbnb.com? Great. All we ask for is a good review. All we ask for is a good review. And so people will make choices for family. That's my choice. I can go anywhere I want in the world, anytime I want in the world. It doesn't matter the cost. I'm in a very fortunate spot. But I don't spend a bunch of money traveling these days because I go back and forth between those places. And then either in an RV or a van, we can experience other really cool spots like these little state parks, these little hidden gems along the way. And I think people will make better financial decisions. And the travel industry has to recognize that people will get squeezed. But back to Canada, if Canadians are saying the only reason they're not coming to the US is because of Orange Man bad, you're not being genuine. You're not, because you're traveling to places that are 50% cheaper. And I would do the same thing. I wouldn't spend 12, 15, $18,000 for a family of four to come spend a week or two in Fort Lauderdale. That's what it will cost you in season. If you can go to, well, Jamaica got hit. God bless Jamaica. Praying for the recovery. But Dominican Republic, cheap, great value. Where else can you go? Mexico, great value. There's a lot of places, great values. And you'll save 50, 60% versus what it costs to go to Fort Lauderdale or Sarasota or any of these great destinations in Florida. Just the way it is. So be honest with yourself. You can hate Trump. Nobody cares. I hate all politicians. But at the same time, I don't blame them for everything that's going on in the world. I don't blame them for my decisions to do one thing over the other. And maybe you should start thinking about what's going on in your own country and not worry so much about what's going on in the US, because you got a lot of problems and they're not getting any better. And I'll leave you on that happy note. And I look forward to seeing some more screeching when this goes live, because that's what happened last time. Have a good one, folks. And remember, sign up, traveltube.com. Follow us on your favorite podcast apps, as well as your favorite social media apps, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere. Thanks.